So...
I hear you like anime?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I hear you like it too.
Yeah, I dabble in it. Want to talk about something, I don't know, anime related?
Sure. Like what?
Oh, uh... Fine. How about we do the live action remake of Kite?
Wait a second. I thought it was called Kite.
Now, I reviewed Kite some years back, knowing full well the oddly held importance it had to some directors, and I'm still no closer to understanding why that is. I mean, yeah, it features a woman blowing up gangsters in crazy action scenes, and who wouldn't love that, especially if it's animated as well as Kite is. But the appeal doesn't really extend further than that. The script is weirdly introspective and disjointed, the characters are wildly inconsistent and make decisions that make no sense, and at the end of the day, it just boils down to a revenge story that's too convoluted for its own good.
But hey, at least there's fucking in it.
Yeah, in certain edits. Story goes that director Yasuomi Umetsu couldn't get funding for his project Kite without inserting explicit sex scenes, which were edited out during the initial US release. Not that the man had any reservations of working in porn, since he worked on a short called Yellow Star in the hentai series Cool Devices. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I realize that Umetsu is just telling the exact same story over and over again. A guy, or guys, are creepily possessive of women and either make them do what they want, or destroy them should they exhibit the least bit of free will.
No wonder Tarantino likes Kite so much. Apparently, the man gave Kite to actress Chiaki Koriyama to prepare for her role in Kill Bill. Yeah, Gogo Yubari, she's studied for that shit. Even though I wasn't the biggest fan of Kite, it was a lot of fun. Huge explosions, gritty violence, and henchmen getting kicked in the balls so hard, they puke. So naturally, a film adaptation needed to be made.
And it's about as pointless as an adaptation can get. The fact that it's live action means that it loses a lot of what the anime could get away with, and the fact that it was clearly made on a budget means that what they can get away with is gonna look horrible.
Not his right hand! That's his molesting hand! The film was mired in production woes, having shifted from director Rob Cohen, responsible for Triple X and Alex Cross, to the late David R. Ellis, who directed Snakes on a Plane and Homeward Bound 2: Lost in San Francisco?
It's probably because of Ellis that Sam Jackson signed on to the project, but when Ellis died shortly thereafter while preparing to film in South Africa, a new director was found in Ralph Simon, a mostly unknown director whose main claim to fame was directing Gangster's Paradise, South Africa's official entry into the Academy Awards Best Foreign Language Film category in 2008, which they didn't get.
So what we have here is an anime adaptation whose major supporters are no longer attached to the project or have died.
But bearing all that in mind, I'm surprised how well Kite turned out in the end.
But it sucked.
That it did. This is Kite.
We set our story in a dystopian future where the economy has collapsed and cartels rule the streets. Human trafficking is their business and baby business is a booming.
The story follows a now white South African girl, and yes, her name is still Sawa, certainly the most South African name in history. If you're going to change the characters and the setting, why even keep the Japanese names at all?
My father was a cop who fought the flesh cartels. But the Emir killed him and my mother. So one by one, I kill them back, until they lead me to the Emir. That's all I remember.
Maybe Sawa is supposed to be Japanese for she who summarizes the plot for the stupid.
Oh, and this narration never happens again. How does her bloodbath not attract the attention of the cops? Because her handler, Carl, sweeps her dealings under the rug. So you changed the character's name from Akai to Carl. So why couldn't you do this for Sawa?
Exploding 9mm shell.
Outlawed tactical weapon issued only to security forces.
Well, maybe, Lieutenant. Someone in law enforcement is getting tired of these flesh merchants buying out the cops and the courts.
Like you, Prince Luke?
I love how he's trying to shift the suspicion onto that guy, considering he's the one being played by Sam Jackson, the guy who only plays corrupt assholes. And Mace Windu. And the tech guy from Jurassic Park. Also, I thought the point of an exploding bullet was that it would destroy itself and leave nothing for ballistics to find. Oops.
Carl chews out Sawa for leaving a witness alive and leaving the evidence behind, but somehow, and off-screen, she got a lead on where to find the next step on the cartel's ladder. But the question I hear you all asking is, what kind of Sam Jackson are we gonna get? Are we gonna get the shit-your-pants intense Sam Jackson? Or are we gonna get the killing time until my contractually obligated golf game Sam Jackson?
Look, Sawa, I want to get these deviants as badly as you do. But I'm looking out for you like your father would have wanted.
Number 2.
Sawa puts on her alias wig and infiltrates South African Clive Owen's pad, complete with Dolomite security detail.
And then you tell me someone's cocked Kratzov, and you've got no talent to sell. And then this girl shows up, bandying my name about. You're useless as a codless wank, aren't you, Jeppy?
Did this guy think he was acting in a Guy Pearce movie? Brad Pitt in Snatch was more coherent than this guy. Also, you got a little, something right by your nose. Just wipe it off. You'll get it. With all those bloodstains, they better use Phillips brand detergent.
They'd be cuckoo not to use it. Though her target got away, seriously, why wasn't this guy tied to the chair? Sawa still has a new lead to chase, but in comes a member of One Direction to tackle her?
Who are you?
You know me. Obery.
Sure you are, Broseph.
Also, let's count how many times Oberi calls out to Sawa to stop her from walking away.
It's that obvious, isn't it? Sawa! Hey, look, I get wanting to get rid of the bad stuff. What about the good stuff, huh? Sawa, if you can't remember what your parents look like, then you've lost them a second time. I knew your parents...
Oh, for crying out loud, Oberi, she's not interested!
I guess this whole meeting was supposed to plant a seed of doubt in Sawa, but if that was the point, why didn't Uburi just tell Sawa that she's being drugged into forgetting her parents and is being used by Carl? It's no more unbelievable than just approaching her in the middle of the day and claiming she knows you.
Also, this is a minor point, but what in the hell is up with Sawa seeing kites everywhere she goes? I know it's the title of the film, but not even the anime was this blatant. Though I will say that the whole forgetful drug angle explains away why Sawa didn't just immediately blast away a Kai, like she should have done in the anime.
What am I looking for again? Oh right, the kite that I'm not supposed to see. So after the movie makes a 20-minute detour to ape from Luc Besson's District 13, the movie finally gets to the scene that anyone cares about. The bathroom fight scene.
And it just blows. Granted, the scene is pretty pointless in the anime, and it felt like it belonged more in a Tex Avery cartoon than the world that Kite built, but it was still a hell of a scene, culminating in one of the most over-the-top fantastic action set pieces I've ever seen in an anime. To recap for those who haven't seen it, Sawa gets tackled out of a building, the two plummet towards the ground at near terminal velocity, they crash through a skyway, which crashes through a tanker truck, which crashes through the subway, and then the tanker explodes when a neon sign crashes into it, sending Sawa flying through the air and safely onto a department store mattress.
Now, here's how the film does it.
know what's sad? Besides everything you just saw? A music video from 2000 was more faithful than this.
Bad movie, go to your corner! Sawa loses her target during the firefight, but manages to corner him in his car and finds out where they exchanged their girls. And if the film didn't feel cheap before, just get a load of these sound effects here. Either that guy was beating Sawa with a billy club, or he was tenderizing a nice flank steak.
And why was the gunshot muffled? The car doors were wide open, and we're only like 5 feet away. Sawa learns where the Amir pick up their girls, and meanwhile, Carl keeps cleaning up her leftovers. For some reason, she wakes up in what is plainly not her house while she is going through withdrawal from the mind-wiping drug. I believe this is supposed to be the house of the guy she was chasing at the beginning of the movie, who turned out to be an undercover narc, but why is she here now? If there was one unifying problem with the movie, is that there really isn't a plot to speak of.
Well, is that the film's fault or the anime's fault?
Well, dubious source material has never been an excuse. True, the anime didn't have much in the way of plot either, but it was only 60 minutes long, and when you edit out the extraneous fuck scenes, it's about 45 minutes long, so the lack of a strong plot didn't really hurt the experience. Here, though, since there's not enough story to make it feature length, the padding and jumping from scene to scene with no means of connective tissue only serves to highlight just how plotless the anime was. So, once again, I come back to my original question. Just why?
Sawa gets captured as she tries to infiltrate the cartel and winds up meeting face to face with the Amir, who turns out to be this guy.
Sawa.
Sawa. Such an unusual name.
You don't say!
My father said that it meant the sound that you couldn't hold.
Actually, Sawa means swamp.
Your father was full of shit! You see? This is what happens when you try to tie your prisoner to an easily detachable fryer basket. If any of your henchmen had ever worked at McDonald's, then they would have known that.
My favorite part of this scene is the chef that comes out of nowhere to try and kill Sawa. Dude, you get paid minimum wage to barbecue meat. You don't owe these guys shit.
And why is this guy taking off his hat? Was he expecting Sawa to cut off his head, or did he hear the national anthem?
Play ball!
But Sawa's nightmares are still plaguing her, and she now remembers the face of the man who killed her parents, and despite Carl's insistence to hide, she goes after Oburi to finally confront the gunman.
I'm going clean. I want to remember.
I want the whole story, let's go, huh? Right, of course, why have a conversation when you can stab someone, huh?
Oh, sure, egg the woman on who's got a knife to your throat. The hell's the matter with you?
We were friends, Sawa. You and me. We were friends.
And you're making a real strong case for picking up that friendship, jackass.
She finally confronts who she thinks is the gunman, Oburi's dad. But then, oh shock twist, it turns out it was Sam Jackson all along. Oh my giddy aunt.
I made a mistake. But I spent the rest of my life paying it back.
Didn't I take care of you? Pack your lunches? Dope you up on enough drugs to knock out Keith Richards? Aren't I the wronged party here?
Carl tries to get away, but the wound he sustained from killing Oburi's father finally overtakes him, and Sawa just pumps him full of drugs until he forgets basic math, and the film ends on a flashback of Sawa and Oburi flying a kite. There's only one word to describe the Kite movie.
Pointless.
I was gonna say boring, but yeah, that too.
When I say it's pointless, I don't mean just that the story is pointless, which was certainly the intended case for the anime. I mean that the whole movie doesn't have a reason to exist. No one was clamoring for a film to be made out of Kite, and if there were, they stopped banging that drum over a decade ago.
Even if you judged it as its own movie, all Kite manages to do is be a dull revenge story. The action scenes are boring, the very few parkour scenes aren't even impressive to look at, and the plot is a meandering mess. There are a few shots that are pretty cool to look at, and even though Samuel L. Jackson is phoning it in, India Isley as Sawa still manages to be both vulnerable and pissed off, and she helps carry Sam Jackson in the scenes they're both in. But it's still shit when the cards are down.
That it is. But you know what? This was actually pretty fun, Chris. You want to try doing this again sometime?
Sure. Anyway, bye!
You know what? Considering he didn't try to belittle me, or kidnap me, or beat my ass half to death with a pool cue, I consider this a win. Till next time.